Hi and welcome to Maths by Gary Maths Tutorials. Today we're going to look at some exam preparation tips and exam techniques. So this is for maths exams, but it's also applicable to other exams. So first of all, practice makes perfect and plan ahead. This is not only true for maths exams. There are only so many ways in which an examiner can ask a question on a certain topic. Practice as much as you can and be sure to use past papers. You will begin to see similar questions repeat themselves. Remember, you can also decide which order to answer your questions. It's your time, you can decide how best to utilise it. If you get stuck at a question, you can move on and come back to the question you struggle with if you have time at the end. When the exam begins, you can have a quick look ahead and see which questions are in your paper. You can even answer the questions in a different order. So you can do all the questions that you're able to, including the questions that you are good at by now. You can then use your remaining time to go back and get as many marks as possible. Your exam may even be split into two parts, Part A and Part B, where you have to answer mandatory questions, but you may also have the choice between questions. So it's important to practice those questions that you get to choose. They also tend to be the questions that are higher weighted, so are worth more marks. This is a very good way of ensuring that you get marks on questions that are favourable to you. And remember, don't get stressed, try to relax. Your exam may be 2 or even 3 or 4 hours long. So if you feel that you're becoming stressed, stop, put down your pen and take 10 deep breaths. Time is crucial in an exam. But after taking a short time out, even 30 seconds, you will find that you are more focused and you might even have that eureka moment where you notice something new and can answer a question that you found difficult. 2. Find out what you can and what you can't take into the exam. You may have a long exam ahead, and it's important to stay hydrated and your brain needs energy too. Before the exam starts, find out what you can take in by way of food and drink. Normally, bottled water is fine. Fizzy drinks tend to be frowned upon, as opening and closing can distract other students. You may be allowed to take in small snacks. Bananas are always a good source of slow release energy, or your favourite sweet or chocolate bar. But again, be thoughtful of other students, as opening the wrappers before the exam so as not to disturb anyone. It's a good idea to take everything you need in a pencil case and lay out your snacks before the exam starts. Remember to pack your pen, pencil and any other instruments you may need, such as a rubber and ruler. Your exam may permit a calculator. Some exams do not allow calculators at all, and some allow certain calculators. Be sure to check the model number of your calculator before the exam. There is nothing worse than being told you cannot use your calculator right before the exam. This is likely the calculator you have done all your revision with. So plan ahead and get practicing with a calculator that will be permitted. 3. Remember, the marker wants to give you marks. The person that has the job of marking your paper is on your side. They want to give you marks, but it's your job to make their life easy. Firstly, if you score out some working, or if your scribbling is not legible, they cannot give you marks. Make sure that you write down all of your working, and it is also crucial that you remember to write down the correct units. If you're asked to provide an answer to 3 decimal points, or if you're asked to give a speed in miles per hour, then it's important that you do so. Different exams will have different marking schemes, but the question can give a clue. If the question is worth 4 marks and you only write out the final answer with no working and without units, or you don't make it clear that you used a certain equation, then you cannot get full marks. It's best practice to ensure that you write out all your working. It is even possible to get 3 out of 4 marks even with the wrong final answer. If you show all your working, use the correct equation or formula if applicable. For example, if the question was to find a speed using the formula speed equals distance over time, v equals d over t, and you're given distance 20 miles, time 2 hours, and you were asked to find the speed v, which is 20 over 2, giving 10 miles per hour. You would have the correct answer. However, if you got the wrong answer, but followed the correct procedure by using the correct formula, you could still get the majority of the marks. Plan your study and take a mock exam. Once you begin to study for the exam, using past papers is one of the best ways to study and prepare yourself. By doing as many past papers as you can, and as time allows, you will soon find out which topics you are grasping and which topics you identify as needing further study and practice. You can then focus on the topics you are struggling with. It's a good idea to pace your study and draw up a plan of what and when you are going to study. Don't forget to practice the topics you are proficient with. It is just as important to keep up to speed with your strengths and practice as it is to work on topics that you struggle with. It's also a good idea to sit a mock exam. You can sit a past paper and under exam conditions, practice sitting for the duration of the exam, just so you can get used to concentrating for long periods of time, and it will also give you a good idea how to manage your time. 5. The night before the exam. At this point, you have probably done as much preparation and studying for the exam as you can. Everyone is different and some people will prefer to cram right up until the last minute. However, sometimes it is best to simply just relax and watch a film the night before, get a good night's rest and feel refreshed the next day. 6. The day of the exam. So the big day has finally arrived and you will no doubt be feeling a mixture of emotions from fear, excitement to nervousness. It is important to have a good breakfast, but don't overdo it on the coffee. Whilst caffeine is a great way to start the day, too much caffeine can have the many negative effects. It can increase your heart rate, make you nervous and cause cold sweats. It is, however, important to stay hydrated, and as I mentioned before, find out what you can take in by way of snacks, water being your best bet. Some people will swear by energy drinks and isotonic drinks, which can be great in moderation. Just remember they contain caffeine too, and taurine and various other stimulants, which may have a negative impact on you. Again, everyone is different, so find out what works for you. Time management during the exam. The exam is not only testing you on your knowledge and understanding and problem solving abilities of your subject, it is also a time management exercise. You have a finite amount of time to complete your exam and there are various different ways to tackle the exam. You may want to come up with a plan to tackle your exam. You will know by now the format of the exam, if there are more than one part, or if you have a multiple choice element. If your exam is 3 hours long and there are 2 parts, part A and part B, you may want to spend 1 hour on part A and 2 hours on part B, or you may want to spend 1.5 hours on each part. Whatever you decide to do, just be wary of the clock. You don't want to spend too much time on questions that you struggle with. Some students will decide that they may not even tackle a specific type of question if it is on a topic they struggle with. Regardless of your plan, it is still good practice to tackle every question, but be realistic if you are really stuck. It is okay to move on and come back later if there is time. It's all about utilising your time as best you can. Check your answers. It is crucially important that you check your answers before finishing the exam. It is often good to check more than once if time allows. Checking over your answers is not only a great way to pick up extra marks, as you can correct and mistakes that you have made, but also sometimes taking a second look at a question offers a different perspective and you might also manage to answer some questions that you were stuck at. It is also important to mention that even if you are completely clueless at a question, it is still a good idea to write something. The marker cannot award marks for a blank piece of paper. But if you're able to communicate that you understand the question, or even that you know what formula or equation is being discussed, you can still pick up marks. You may even have a multiple choice element to your exam. It is worth noting that double checking your answers to multiple choice questions is vitally important, as one wrong answer can have a knock-on effect and you could potentially make several mistakes. So be sure to check that you have marked your paper correctly. Finishing the exam. Once you finish the exam, you will have to make sure that all of your working answer sheets have been collected and are clearly marked. Making life easier for your marker by clearly labelling which answer corresponds to which question will ensure you don't miss out on marks. Depending on what exam you're sitting and where you are completing the exam, there will be different variances on how to bind or submit your exam paper and question. It is important that you listen to the invigilator and follow their instructions on how to properly hand in your work. Remember, you have just spent several stressful hours on an exam and you probably just want to go home. but spending the time to correctly hand in your paper and answer sheets will be worth it. It is important to mention that some exams will allow you to leave as soon as you are finished, normally right up until the last 15 minutes or so. Before you leave the exam early, it is worthwhile considering that you've put lots of time and effort into the exam and you won't get to go back and finish once you have left. So it is normally best practice to utilise the time that is allocated. After the exam. Congratulations, you have just finished your exam. The hard work is paid off and you have just made it through several stressful hours. It's completely normal to feel stressed, happy, tearful, a full range of emotions. You will also be physically and mentally drained. These feelings are completely normal and sometimes a good sign that you really worked hard. It might be several weeks or even months before you get your result. All you can do is know that you've done your best and that there's nothing that you can do but wait to find out how you did. Best thing to do now is to relax and forget about the exam. At the end of the day, it's over now and it's out of your hands. Good luck. I hope you have enjoyed my exam preparation tips and exam techniques by Maths by Gary. Thank you.